Hey everyone, thanks for checking in today. I'm here with Matt Monath, a wonderful photographer, super nice guy. Does really beautiful, cool work. And so I'm excited to introduce you to him, Matt. Oh, even your cup has your initial on
Oh yeah, I'm repping the M. You got the M in
it.
perfect.
Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you not just become a photographer, but how did you get into the fashion industry?
Well, I became a photographer I studied photo in school, which was now I graduated like 10 years ago. Came out, jumped right into interning for other photographers, doing retouching internships, and then also interning at Hearst, their in-house studio for all of Hearst magazines.
Yeah.
There, I met a bunch of photographers, started assisting them, kind of loosely assisted maybe like 20 photographers at the same time for a few years,
Wow.
and then started like getting my own clients, moving into that, and then things just kind of blew up from there. Once I started really shooting like advertising work, I started getting like booked a lot, which was great. And I shoot things across the board. I do fashion and beauty, but then I also do kind of like the more money making stuff, which is like advertising, tech, food, lifestyle, everything kind of across the board. So
Amazing.
like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I do feel like you kind of have to be a jack of all trades right now in this industry. You can't
I
just,
think so too.
just do portraiture or just do fashion or whatever. It doesn't work.
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting because there's definitely two like schools of thought with it. Like when I actually went to school for photography, I was taught like find your niche, be really good at it. That's what you'll get booked for. Some people love it, some people hate it. The people that'll love it will book you for it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what I was going into the industry thinking. And then once I started shooting advertising, I realized, okay, you actually have to like just be good at everything. And then you know, then you're just going to get booked a lot more. And with advertising, it's kind of nice to know that producers can be like, oh, this photographer can do this or this or this, do a little bit of video, whatever. It's
Yeah.
so now that's my mentality. It's kind of like, don't spread yourself too thin, but definitely be down for whatever and kind of hone your skills in all different genres.
That's true. I do think, and I think that the shift in the industry has demanded that kind of flexibility. Though I do have to say, I'm impressed with the video concept because I feel like a lot of amazing still photographers I know are not good at video. That's a different skill set, I feel like. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
it definitely is. And I also think that that's changing about the industry, or at least within advertising. I think that producers want to be able to kind of have a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But for me, I more so I take the director role when it comes to video, and I'll bring on a DP and a lighting tech and kind of the whole crew that I trust to help me execute my vision. Whereas with photography, I like am so hands-on and do everything myself. I do like all the lighting myself, all the retouching,
Really?
everything across the board. Yeah, unless I'm like super booked and I need to outsource something like with like
Mm.
retouching. But yeah, I mean, I'm usually doing it all myself with photography. With
Yeah.
video, I'll just like take the director role and then kind of hire the rest of the crew to make the magic happen because it's so much more involved,
Yes.
quicker timelines typically. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think the key, I think, probably to being really good at anything is being honest, knowing what you do know, and being honest about what you don't know. Like you
Yeah,
can,
you have to set expectations because you don't want a client thinking that they're going into it thinking you have a good handle on it when you maybe don't. But also, work with whatever budget you're getting, and definitely setting expectations is a good practice to have.
yeah, and making stuff happen. I like that. That's really cool. So in this time that's super weird for everyone, it's hit all our businesses, everyone.
Absolutely.
And it's really crazy. How have you managed to keep yourself inspired? I mean, what do you do to keep yourself going creatively? And
Well, I mean, of course, it's been a challenge on like the day to day, but I shoot a lot of passion projects alongside like the stuff that actually pays. And the passion projects for me are like portraiture, mostly beauty, celebrity stuff. So now that I have a home studio that's like legit, I have a space which is great that I can invite people to safely, get testing first, all of that. but I'm able to like still shoot portraits here and there. And that's the stuff that I really love to do anyway. So that's been getting me by, like shooting
Awesome.
celebrity stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just shot a couple days ago, I shot Heidi Gardner from SNL. That
Oh,
was a
right.
very
How
cool
did that
one.
go?
I'm a big fan. She was awesome. We did some really beautiful looks. We did some ridiculous comedic looks. I will definitely let you know when they're posted. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, just like shooting the passion project stuff, you know,
Yeah.
especially as a photographer and as any creative, and you, I'm sure, as a hairstylist, you have to be always just like doing
Yeah.
something creative so
Yeah.
those juices don't just like run out and then you're not jaded. And yeah,
Yeah. It is very, that's a really good point. It is very easy to slip into a jaded role if you're not doing the thing you love. It's very easy to kind
yeah,
of get a little bent out of shape about it.
for sure, which a lot of people do get that way.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that never happens. Who knows? But yeah, I think by having a good balance of like work, and then
Mhm.
stuff that's a passion project that's in the same vein is the key to just keeping it fresh.
Yeah. I agree. You have to scratch that creative itch when that happens. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah,
necessity.
for sure.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you do to, keep yourself inspired lately?
That's been a tough one for me, if I'm honest with you. I feel like I've thrown myself into a lot of shooting smaller, just for fun editorials, just
Hmm.
because before I didn't have the time, if I'm honest. I was working all the time and I just didn't have time to do anything creative. And so now that so much work has dried up, I'm just doing everything that sounds cool or fun to me. I'll just jump on, even if I don't know if it's going anywhere, I'll still do it just to test, just to keep my hands moving. Because I find if I don't work for a couple of weeks and I start doing a braid or start doing whatever, I'm like, ooh, this looks janky. It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, and then especially with like the first few months of when coronavirus hit, like March through like June was real boring,
Real
just
boring.
trying to figure out like what to do on the day to day. At first I was like, ooh, this break from work is awesome. Like I can be in my pajamas all day, love it.
Yeah.
And then, a couple months in, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like be back on set,
Yeah.
all that. At least I was still getting retouching jobs, which is kind of always a little bit of like a supplemental um, income and creative process for me, that I'll do retouching for other photographers or
Cool.
ad agencies, something like that.
Mhm.
That was also kind of my way to like keep my fingers busy and keep the creative juices flowing
That's
personally.
very cool. No, I know I did the same thing, except I didn't have that option to like there was no hair work to be done those first few months. So I was like doing this unreal spring cleaning,
Oh yeah,
painting rooms, moving furniture around, like completely redoing everything. It was very funny. And then,
we like
yeah,
designed our outdoor patio from the ground up pretty much as soon as like COVID
nice.
started. We're like, all right, yeah, it's time for some renovations around here.
That's fun. That's really,
Yeah,
really fun. That's cool. So,
project.
as someone who has had a very diverse, very fun, very cool career for several years, and what's great about your story is I feel like it's cool that it all really kind of happened organically. You know what I mean? Like everything seemed to naturally grow from one thing to another, which is really cool. But where do you see, especially after this crazy year dealing with this pandemic, where do you see the future of the business heading?
I mean, I think it's hard to say. I think now people are realizing that remote productions actually are doable, to a degree, or a little bit more like bare bones crew. I think that budgets are going to be low for a while, at least lower than usual, but also productions are going to keep happening, and they need to happen. There will always be a need for fresh content. Clearly, I mean, we're like a content driven world.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think it's going to really transform too much in the next few years. Um, it's hard to say.
I
I
know.
think, yeah, I mean, everything, of course, is becoming more and more digital. Everything is becoming more and more self-produced to a degree, especially with influencers now driving sales so much. A lot of it is like UGC, I think, is gonna, like, user generated content is
Yeah.
always gonna be kind of on the forefront too. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next few years for sure. Next
It
few months
is.
even.
It is. It is interesting. And it's interesting to see what looks and stuff develop out of that because
Yeah.
the there isn't just one small set of gatekeepers deciding what is and isn't cool anymore. Now
Yeah,
it's everyone, and that's going to be an interesting, that's going to be an interesting take. I don't know. I'm curious to
absolutely.
see where it goes. I know, because I mean, when you think about it, for years, it was always um, Vogue or French Vogue or just Vogue from different countries, but like it was
Yeah.
always another, like a small select group of people deciding this is what's cool, and everyone
Yeah.
going
And
like,
then
okay,
creating trends for then everybody else to try to jump on.
yeah,
And then it's just interesting to see what the next one's going to be or
I
who's really going to
know,
be deciding that. But I do think it's becoming more and more now, especially with like influencers and everything, becoming more and more decided by the people and by the
yeah,
actual like content creators than by producers or creative directors.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I'm curious to see how far that goes. How creative can people really be? It'll be interesting. You know, because
Uh-huh.
honestly, I've stolen looks from the subway and stuff. Like I've seen
Oh yeah.
people,
I mean,
cool
you
looking
know,
girls, and be like, "I'm stealing that hairdo," you know?
yeah. I mean, that's also just how it works. I mean,
Yeah,
inspiration is everywhere.
yeah,
Every time I ask that question, like, where do you get inspiration from? I don't know how to answer it.
yeah. It's everything and
I
everything
just
and
everything.
everything. I
Everything
had
I
this tail.
see, things I stalk on Instagram,
Yeah,
my like saved tab on Instagram is like thousands of things. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's just inspiration really is everywhere.
I know. Same. I had this tailor once years ago. This brilliant old man, and he was making a jacket for me. And the colors that he chose for the inside, it was gray with red and white on the inside. And I was like, "Oh, it's beautiful." And I was like, "What made you pick that lining?" And he was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, it's this book of birds." And he pulled out a book of birds that he had that he was in love with. And I just thought, how funny that he's taking, but he was inspired from somewhere that I would not have expected, and I thought was really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That he wasn't, blocking himself into one thing. But well, that's cool. Well, thanks for doing this, Matt. I really appreciate having you
of
today.
course. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Are you
This
kidding?
was
You're
super
awesome.
fun. I'm down for this anytime.
That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. We're very excited, and I'm excited to see those Heidi Gardner's pictures because we talked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. There's a lot of cool content coming up. I have that. I'm shooting Jonathan Van Ness's headshots from Queer Eye, and among other things, I'm shooting those in January.
Amazing.
I'm shooting Jackie Cox from RuPaul's Drag Race. So like
Oh,
lots of little
amazing.
fresh
You got your
bits
hands
of content
full.
coming.
I
So
like
follow
it.
me on Instagram at Matt Monath Photo. You can find
Yes,
me there.
I will
Yeah,
definitely promote that to the ends of the earth. Absolutely.
give me all the followers.
Yeah, everybody needs them. I know it's ridiculous.
Seriously.
So
All right. I
funny.
will talk to you
Thank you
soon.
so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.